You're tuned in to TMH English Daily News. As we present you our headlines for today, the UN vehicle carrying food aid targeted by Ethiopia's drone strikes in the Tigray region. UK intensifies calls for Eritrea's soldiers to leave Ethiopia's Tigray region immediately. And Ethiopia throws out Chinese companies from the Ogaden oil gas fields and their projects. As we move on to our main update, a UN vehicle carrying food aid was targeted by a drone strike in Ethiopia's Tigray region. Tigray government senior officials urged WFP chief to call out Abiy Ahmed on his outrageous claims. The truck, which was going to in the debris from a drone, was attacked by a WFP spokesperson, confirmed on Monday that the debris from a drone strike in northern Ethiopia's Tigray region hit a World Food Program truck carrying humanitarian aid and injured the driver as well. The truck was destroyed and the driver and other people wounded, said member of Tigray government Central Command, Getachew Reda, who also accused the government of Ethiopia of being behind the shellings. I am hoping that the WFP chief will call out Abiy Ahmed on his outrageous claims and the crimes, Getachew said. He said that he added the Eritrean troops also looted a WFP warehouse in Shararo, and Getachew noted that the WHO chief has sufficient reports about such attacks. Real politics shouldn't be allowed to trump humanitarian values, said Getachew, as he stated on his official Twitter account. The WFP truck was transporting aid from Shura to Zana and was hit by a drone in a place called Bahara in Tigray. This comes amid ongoing calls for a ceasefire within the country, and about 3 weeks after the Ethiopian forces and their allies triggered and renewed the ongoing conflict. Ethiopian Air Force has been waging drone strikes in Mekelle city, in the regional capital of Tigray, and further investigators indicate that the NDF is getting assistance from Eritrea, but the airstrikes have been mainly targeting innocent civilians. Reports from Shura confirmed that the latest airstrike badly wounded a WFP worker driving the vehicle, which was carrying humanitarian aid to the people of western Tigray. The Eritrean army is accused of making entry into the Tigray, and the wounded worker and sources further confirmed what was taken to a nearby hospital within Tigray's Shura town and is currently undergoing treatment. The WFP is yet to confirm the latest hostility against humanitarian workers within the Horn of Africa's nation, and for 1 month now, the Ethiopian military and their Eritrean counterparts have been on a rampage within the Tigray region, despite calls for an ongoing ceasefire, mostly targeting innocent civilians. A total of 8 airstrikes have been reported within the Tigray region, and the period, according to official statistics, on the 13th of September, 1 person was injured in drone strikes in Mekelle University, and a TV station in Tigray region was also hit. Before this incident, 12 people, mainly children, were killed in the same town, and Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, under pressure to embrace a ceasefire, besides fast-tracking the African Union-led mediation with the government of Tigray to broker a truce in the country, as the government of Tigray accuses Addis Ababa of violating previous agreements, including allowing uninterrupted and unhindered humanitarian access and assistance and opening up all basic services in the entire Tigray region. The United Kingdom has intensified calls to have Eritrea's soldiers leave Ethiopia's Tigray region immediately. The Asmara regime maintains it has not participated in any manner within the Tigray region as the war in northern Ethiopia entered the 23rd month with Eritrea's full participation during the entire conflict. In a candid statement, Vicky Ford, who is the Minister for Development, who previously served as UK Minister for Africa, Caribbean, and South America, said that there was a need for the Eritrean soldiers to leave Tigray, a move which she would room for robust negotiations. At a meeting with Ethiopia's Deputy Prime Minister, Damaqa Mokonnon, Ford reiterated calls for a truce, restoration of humanitarian access to the Tigray region, and after reports suggested that, after all, teams were not allowed into Tigray to help solve the humanitarian conflict. Important conversations with Ethiopian Deputy Prime Minister Damaqa Hassan yesterday, I expressed concern about the impact of renewed conflict on the humanitarian crisis in northern Ethiopia and reiterated calls for a truce, restoration of humanitarian access to Tigray, and for Eritrean forces to leave the region immediately, she said. Vicky Ford is the first senior government official in Britain to call for a ceasefire in the country, despite earlier calls by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Ethiopian National Army has been fighting with the Tigray forces, but the latter claims that Ethiopia was getting assistance from Asmara and Isaias Afwerki. The United Nations has confirmed that indeed and has established the Eritrean was directly involved in this ongoing conflict. Yamana Gabrameskel, who's Eritrea's Minister of Information, dismissed the claims that Eritrea was directly involved in the conflict, and Eritrea's Minister of Information also dismissed the recent reports by the UN humanitarian team, which maintained the soldiers from Asmara had in fact camped in western Tigray, where they are unleashing unimaginable atrocities against innocent civilians. Ethiopia has also been accused of bombing Ma'ala and other towns and villages in Tigray region as well. Women's Association of Tigray calls on all rights experts to conduct comprehensive investigation that fully addresses the concerns of survivors of sexual victims and violence in Tigray. The Women's Association of Tigray issued a statement calling on the International Commission of Human Rights Experts on Ethiopia, and the association expressed its appreciation of the investigation report recently released by the Commission highlighting the atrocities committed on the people of Tigray. However, the association does note serious depth in the scope of investigations, adding it does not depict the full brutality of violence and the crimes that have been committed against the women and the girls of Tigray. We, on behalf of the victimized women and girls in Tigray, urge the Commission to re-examine and approach to deploy as many team members as possible to cover all war-affected communities throughout Tigray to make the report an all-inclusive, complete, and trustworthy statement. The association also added that the perpetrators of those crimes are to this day working to wipe out the entire people in existence of Tigray through all possible means and necessary. As we move on to our final update for today, Ethiopia throws out Chinese company PolyGCL Petroleum Group Holding Limited from the Ogaden oil and gas fields project. Takala Uma, who's Ethiopia's Minister of Mines and Petroleum, announced the termination of the contract with the Chinese PolyGCL, which has been engaged in oil explorations in Ethiopia. PolyGCL has been exploring petroleum and natural gas in Ogaden Basin since 2013, and on June 28, 2018, it officially started crude oil production tests in the halal oil fields in the presence of the regional officials and representatives of the federal government, and it was hailed as an important milestone in the history of oil and gas development within Ethiopia, and Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said that 450 barrels would be produced on trial basis. However, no oil has been extracted so far, and Horn of Africa analyst Rashid Abdi reported on Twitter, based on what they called for informed sources, that Ethiopia annulled the contract with Chinese oil and gas company after the Chinese government refused multiple requests by Abiy Ahmed for Wenglung drones. The Chinese company was asked by the cash-strapped Abiy Ahmed administration to pay 30% of its $4 billion investment up front to the central government in Addis, and the petroleum PolyCGL refused. Ethiopia is now seeking Jordanian investors. Mining Minister Banti this week met with Prince Abbas bin Ali of Jordan, and reports say that the American oil and gas companies are also lining up to take over the Ogaden energy project after this Chinese company was kicked out by Abiy Ahmed's administration. And according to Rashid Abdi, the West does seem to have fallen prey to Abiy's manipulation. That concludes our news for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.